Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of Tales from the Fandom. I was invited to the Omni Fandom Expo in Orlando, Florida. It bills itself as the biggest little con you'll attend this year, and I was very pleased, and thank you to the Omni Fandom Expo administration because they offered me a press pass so I could record this special podcast episode. So thank you to the Omni Fandom Expo. I really enjoyed my time that I got to go visit. It definitely was the biggest little con that I will probably attend this year, since my next conventions are Star Wars Celebration and MegaCon Orlando and Wizard World Orlando. So it was nice to have a convention that was a little bit smaller, more intimate, where I could actually talk to the artists in the Artist Alley area, the cosplayers, and it was really a lot of fun, especially because of the really awesome work that a lot of the artists that I got to talk to, or those that I even didn't get to talk to, the stuff that they were producing was really cool. And I hope that you guys enjoy the various guests that I had on for the podcast and check out all of their work. All of their Facebook pages and Instagram pages or Tumblrs or websites are listed in the show notes for you in order of interview. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Be sure to check out the Tales from the Fandom Facebook page, like it, share the podcast post. We're still working towards our goal of 500 likes. Once we hit 500, the Tales from the Fandom box will be given out to somebody. So if you keep sharing those episodes, you will be entered each time you share. Please enjoy this episode, and I'll have more thoughts after you guys listen to these interviews. Our first guest up is Serena, and I found her as she was cosplaying Lafayette from Hamilton, so take a listen. And I'm back with a cosplayer I found at the Omni Fandom Expo, and you are dressed as Hamilton.
Yes, I am.
What's your name?
Serena.
Welcome to the podcast, Serena. What we do here is we just talk about fandoms and how you got into it, but I'm very curious, why did you choose Hamilton to cosplay?
Well, when I first heard of Hamilton, it was like, I didn't really know what it was about, but the more I listened to the songs, it really made me emotional. So I just felt like I had to recreate that by dressing up as my favorite character, Lafayette.
Is this your first cosplay, or are you a routine cosplayer at conventions?
This is actually my first cosplay, but someone helped me make this.
Oh, congratulations. It looks really good.
Thank you.
Serena is a first-time cosplayer, like she said, so she does not have any social media for her to have any new followers, but hopefully we'll be able to reconnect with her at a future convention, and maybe by then she'll have something. The next guests that we have up are Jason, Brett, and Kaiden. I found them outside of the convention doors. Kaiden was cosplaying, I believe, as Newt, and Jason and Brett were also cosplaying from characters from the Fantastic Beasts series. And you guys definitely need to check out the Facebook page or our Instagram page to see their photo, because they did a spot-on job. So take a listen. And we're back outside of the Omni Fandom Expo, and I'm joined by characters from the Fantastic Beasts. Welcome to the podcast. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm all right. What's your name?
My name's Jason.
How long have you been doing cosplay, Jason?
For about 4.5 years, give or take.
And how did you guys choose the Fantastic Beasts theme for this convention?
It was honestly Newt's idea.
It was
definitely my idea. I don't know, we just kind of fell in love with the characters, per se, and I had to have my best friends with me, and it just worked out. We have to have the good versus evil here.
Okay, and what's your name?
Brett.
Brett, okay. And yours?
Kaiden.
Kaiden. All right, awesome. So I have to ask, because every time I have Harry Potter fans on the podcast, I always ask what house they represent. So hopefully you guys know your houses.
Yes. Well, of course, Gryffindor.
Gryffindor, okay.
Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff.
Hogwarts standing, I'm a Ravenclaw, and Ilvermorny standing, I am a Horned Serpent.
Awesome. I'm a Puckwudgie and Hufflepuff. So Awesome. I hope you guys enjoy the convention. Thanks so much for taking the time out.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
The next guest that we have is a cosplayer that goes by Miss Taurus Cosplay. That's Taurus like the astrological symbol. You can find her on Instagram and Facebook under Miss Taurus, MISSTAURUS. You'll also find that in our show notes. She was cosplaying a Steampunk Poison Ivy. Again, check out the Facebook page or Instagram for photos and enjoy. And we're back for the coverage of the Tales from the Fandom podcast at the Omni Expo, and I'm joined with, I believe, a Poison Ivy cosplayer. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, actually, it's a steampunk Poison Ivy, so yeah, pretty close, pretty close.
Awesome. I love the outfit. It is so unique and original.
Actually, I just sketched them out. The whole idea, it just came up like through my head. Say, I like steampunk and Poison Ivy, just put it all together and make a costume.
Awesome. How long have you been cosplaying?
I've been cosplaying for 4 years.
What was your first cosplay?
I believe it was Cynthia from Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, do you make the costumes yourself?
I make the costume myself.
And if people are listening and they want to check out more of your work, do you have a Facebook page or an Instagram?
Yes, I do have an Instagram page, all social media pages. You can find me at Miss Taurus, which is TAURUS, like the zodiac sign, and cosplay. Miss Taurus Cosplay.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next person I got to sit down with is an artist that is known all over the world for her unique illustrations and designs of characters from Disney and Sailor Moon, and that is the artist's name by No Flutter. I got to sit down with her. She was a late addition to the con, so I found out that she was coming just a few days ahead of her actually being here, and it was so nice to be able to sit and talk to her about how her art has influenced cosplay and just everything that has gone in from her origin to now. And definitely check out her DeviantArt site, and you can find her again on Instagram and Facebook. Just check out our show notes. And I'm joined now by the artist known across the internet as No Flutter. A lot of her cosplays are done, or a lot of her artwork is actually done into or turned into cosplays by several different people. And welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
So how did you start doing artwork, either artwork or fan art?
Well, I was always interested in art, even as a kid, and through high school, I did a lot of teen art festivals and everything. I worked in the back of a really old, shitty comic book shop, and a young guy at the time, he's about 25, and his name was Tommy Castillo. He's an artist. He worked for DC and everything, but at the time, he was just a guy trying to make it, and he decided to do art classes in the back of the comic book shop where I worked, and I was like, I did a lot of fine art stuff, and was learning still techniques and everything. And I loved comic books, obviously. I worked in the comic book shop, but I never thought about drawing that style until he was doing the classes. And then I joined, and I was open up to a new world, and I was like, this is awesome. And that's pretty much how I got into doing that type of style. I mean, I always loved Disney. That was always what my go-to was at the time, whether I did regular fine art paintings or anything like that. But Disney was the only thing I knew of back then. So opening up that world from working in the comic book shop and then his, art classes is what changed it.
Okay. How do you decide what you're going to draw? Because right now I'm looking at your Warrior Sailor Moons, Disney characters, and you have a very unique style. So is there something that draws you to the characters, or is it just something where you like the story or you want to put your own spin on it?
It's both. I had some people, the Burlesque Scouts was a joke. My sister and I were joking around in her house, and we were like, oh, I would love to, cosplay Sailor Moon, and we joked, we were like, our boobs are too big, and I said, yeah, we'd have to be Burlesque Moon. He laughed, and I was like, wait, that's a good idea, and I sketched it out. That was just one of the examples. The Warrior Scouts was actually New 21 was telling me that they were going to do, they wanted to do Warrior Scouts, but they wanted to be pretty, not, overly armored.
Right.
And all of a sudden it clicked. I was like, oh, I was like, well, if you're going to do pretty, it should be probably a mix between like Wonder Woman and She-Ra. And as why they have a very She-Ra, Wonder Woman-esque feel to it. Because they wanted them to feel pretty, not overly armored. And
right.
That's how the inspiration came from that. So it's usually just like a couple of words, and then all of a sudden I'm like, it clicks. Recently, I was just sitting here at the small con here, and somebody walked by, and all of a sudden I was like, he saw, it was so funny because the vendor over here, he saw my face. All of a sudden I made this face. It was like, and it was the face. I was like, oh my god, I have an idea. And I went in my phone and I wrote down the idea so I don't forget it. And so now I have this funny idea in my head that I want to draw. So inspiration comes from many things. I want to say about 90% of my inspiration does come from like a joke. Like, we're just joking around with my friends, and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, you know, like, so it's playing off of other people's ideas, or sometimes I'm laying in bed, and usually when I'm laying in bed and I'm like, all of a sudden I get an idea, those are the ones that are the really pretty, like, super, you know, detailed, like Lolita-ish, like, or like, I call them my monster girl, like, detailed ones. Those usually come to me by myself. Like, I don't know why. I can't explain. I'm just like, ooh, that's a good, I want to draw this, you know? So, inspiration hits from all directions.
How is it to see your artwork turned into actual cosplays by the cosplayers across, I'd say, not only the United States, but across the world?
It's surreal. That's the only way I could explain it. The first time anybody ever cosplayed any of my art, and it was actually not fan-based art, it was original art. It was 3 girls from Italy, and I was like ecstatic. I was like, oh my god, you actually want to cosplay my art? And they did an amazing job. Like, it was an amazing job, and to this day I still love their pictures, and they were one of my biggest fans, and I was like, I have fans in Italy, you know, like, it was very surreal. And at that time I was like, I was satisfied with just that. I was like, oh, this is great, people actually liked my art. And then all of a sudden I started getting more and more, and I was like, what is going on, you know? So it is still surreal to me. Like, it doesn't feel, I'm actually kind of, I talk a lot, but I think it's a nervous thing because I'm actually a pretty shy person. So I'm like, I overcompensate, so I end up talking more than I should. But yes, I do. It's still an odd feeling for me, you know.
Where can people go to take a look at your artwork? Do you have a website or Instagram, Facebook page?
I have a DeviantArt, noflutter.deviantart.com. You can check it out there.
All right, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
The next artist I got to sit down with is Lisa V. Lisa had some amazing artwork, Harry Potter and Avatar themed playing cards. And what makes them so unique is that the characters such as like Harry, Ron, Hermione, on one side of the card, like the upper portion, is them as year 1 students. And then when you rotate them the 180 degrees, they're now their 7th year versions of themselves. Not only that, she has, it's a whole deck, a 52 card deck. And she has Marauders, she has some of the ghosts in there. She has pretty much every character that you can think of that you might remember from the Harry Potter universe in there. She told me it took her about 400 hours to complete the set, and then she did an Avatar set where each element is a suit. So there's the fire, water, earth, and air. And she said that she was having trouble because when she wanted to initially do the project, that there weren't enough airbenders. There was only, I believe, 3 or 4 airbenders at the time during Avatar: The Last Airbender. And then when Legend of Korra came out, it kind of opened that up so that way she could complete her set of cards. Definitely take a look at her websites and take a listen. I'm joined at the Omni Fandom Expo convention by Lisa, and she is an excellent artist. I'm looking at her booth right now. She's got these amazing playing card artwork, Harry Potter and Avatar and Legend of Korra, where she has first year Ronald, and then on the flip side is the 7th year version of him. And I really love your artwork. So how did you get into art?
Well, I've been drawing for a long time, and I started drawing because of The Lion King when I was 10. So that ages me a bit, but ever since I saw that, I wanted to be in animation, and then I went to school for art. Thought I wanted to do animation, was in the animation program, and then learned super quick that I didn't. So then I switched to sequential art, just the pretentious art of comic books, but you can't put comic books on a diploma. So I got into art because of Disney, like so many people that I went to school with. Nothing, no real original origin story or anything, but yeah, The Lion King.
How did you decide to start drawing fandom art, and specifically, like, as I'm looking at it now, you got the major Harry Potter and Avatar stuff. Is it just that you love the series? Is it something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't really like to draw anything that I'm not in love with. I don't really subscribe to, I mean, it's fine if it's popular, but if I don't like it, I can't really get inspired. And Harry Potter was like the gateway drug to fan art. So I used to want to draw things that I pictured in my head from the novels before the movies came out, and even when the movies were out, they were like scenes they didn't do justice. So I just wanted to, I don't know, work on being able to create scenes that I saw that I never actually saw in the movies. Listening to audiobooks or reading through the books themselves, I just like really important moments. I'm like, I wonder how that would look, or I just wanted to see it myself, or makeup moments, like things that you might want to see between the Marauders. I've done a lot of Marauders fan art, or Harry, Ron, and Hermione, you know, that kind of thing, like ships, like Neville and Luna, things that should have happened but didn't. Just things like that I really wanted to see and couldn't. So I was like, all right, then I'll make it happen. So that's sort of like, yeah, Harry Potter was like the gateway. And then of course Avatar is like the same positive, beautiful, imaginative world that I don't know, it's had so much potential because there's so many characters of different personality types with like a wide array of strengths and weaknesses that lends itself really well to creating fan art that can also like tell a story. So if I can stop rambling so much, but yeah, basically that's why.
How did you come up with the playing card idea with the fan art for both Avatar and Harry Potter?
Well, for years when I watched Avatar before it came out, I wanted to make a deck of cards. It just lends itself really well. The 4 elements, 4 suits. Why not? But before Korra, there weren't enough airbenders full suit. It's like 9 cards shy of a full suit. So harmonic convergence and Hema and Tenzin they're making airbending babies. So I was like, all right, my time has come, and committed to many pots of coffee after that. But because so many characters have that duality, that even if they don't really look super different at the end, they're obviously not the same person. And the avatars from the generations before and after Aang, even except Korra, Yang Chen, Wan, the original Avatar, it's like the stories behind them lend itself to just be like, here's one side and here's the other. Same thing with Harry Potter. You're one Harry and you're 7 Harry, 2 very different people, and they obviously he aged a lot, but physically the kind of responsibilities that took its toll on tiny little Harry. But every character in each Avatar and Harry Potter just, I don't know, tried to convey the story and maybe the struggle that they went through on a card, but mostly because I just like the graphic element of being like, here's this character, but when you see 2 sides, if you are a fan, you can fill in the blanks of what happened in the in-between. Does that make sense?
It does.
I feel like I rambled, but you know what? I don't know if that makes sense. Like that's what I wanted to for a long time, and I made the Avatar deck first in 2015. It's 2017, I lost track of time. And then last year, it's like, I'm a masochist. Why not go for 2? I'm like, Harry Potter is first and foremost in my heart and my soul, so I just wanted to And there's a lot of characters you didn't see in the movies that, or they were some way where it's like, I didn't picture them that way. So that's why the cards look the way that they were described in the novels and the way that I pictured them in my head when I read the books.
Okay, for those who are listening, where's the best place to find you to look at your work or maybe purchase some?
We'll have an Etsy, and that's the easiest way to either contact me, or it's my Etsy store, and it's LISAV, and then 4 E's, E-E-E-E. So my last name is complicated, and nobody can really pronounce it, so they're just like, Lisa V. So that's why it's Lisa V, but yeah, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Or purchase something. That's where I have the decks of cards are on there. Lots of buttons, because I have a problem and I can't stop making buttons. And other prints too.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Our next guest was a cosplay guest with Omni Fandom Expo, and that was Aly Chu. When I got to see her, she was dressed as Mei from Overwatch. Take a listen and check out her social media. Hi, and welcome to Tales from the Fandom podcast. I'm joined right now by Aly Chu. She is dressed as a beautiful Overwatch character, Mei. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, how did you get into cosplay?
Well, I was like 12 years old, and I really liked anime and mangas, and there was a local convention, and I decided I wanted to go, but of course I wanted to dress up, but because I saw like cosplay and stuff like online, like everywhere, and so it's been there she wrote ever since I was 12.
Okay. How do you choose the characters that you cosplay? Is there anything that is a particular character that draws you to it, or is it the outfits, or is it a mixture of both?
I have to love the character in order to cosplay them. Sometimes it's I get attracted to them by their character design, but then I end up falling in love with them. I always research every character, always play every game that I cosplay from, anime, movie, everything. I'm very educated in every costume I do too. But it all just comes down to me just loving the character.
Okay. Do you build everything yourself?
No, yes and no. I sew and I make props, but I also commission as well. Sometimes you just don't have time to do stuff, and if I love a character as much, for example, my Mei costume is completely commissioned, props and everything, but I love her, so I
Okay. Where can people find you if they're listening to this and want to check out your work?
You can find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Aly Chu Cosplay, or on Instagram, and it's Aly Chu with 3 U's.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our last guests are Kaiden Knudson and Angi Tsai. They were both artists working out of a booth together. Kaiden and Angi's work is really phenomenal. Kaiden draws all sorts of stuff, but she had some Harry Potter prints that really caught my attention because she drew Hermione and Harry both as people of color rather than what they're depicted in the movies. And we did discuss that at a little bit of length, and hopefully she and Angi will be guests on the podcast in the future. Angi did some really phenomenal work with Studio Ghibli, and she had some other prints out there as well. So take a listen, check out all of their websites, and I'll be back in a minute. Joining me now for the podcast is Kaiden Knudson and Angi Tsai, and they are both artists here in the Artist Alley. I'm looking at some of their work, and there's some awesome Harry Potter artwork, and it looks like some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and Princess Mononoke, Hayao Miyazaki work. So first we'll start off with Kaiden. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great. So you are obviously an artist.
Yes.
How did you start in the artwork? Like, what was it, something as a kid, or did you get into it later?
A lot of my art, I definitely get inspired by books, especially. So I read the Harry Potter books as a kid, and even now still inspire me a lot. And then I ended up going to art school at William College of Design. So I learned how to draw better, and I just kept drawing what I loved, which was Harry Potter, characters from all sorts of books, and then I got into Dungeons and Dragons and started drawing that too. So
Now, with every guest that I have on that we talk about Harry Potter, I always ask, which house are you?
Oh, Gryffindor for sure.
Okay, awesome. Now, I'm looking at the pictures here, and you have gone with a variation on Hermione, which got a lot of flack about a year or so ago when the Cursed Child came out and they cast a black actress. What made you go with doing that version of Hermione for your artwork?
Well, I saw some other artists doing it, and I thought it was a really interesting interpretation because J.K. Rowling never specifically said what race she was, and it just made sense to me, so I just started drawing her like that. And then when the Cursed Child casting came out, I got so excited because, you know, it matched my view, and then J.K. Rowling ended up retweeting some of my art, which gave me a heart attack, and that was incredibly cool, so it makes me really happy.
That is so awesome. Now, how did you get into Dungeons and Dragons?
I started watching a show on Twitch called Critical Role, and I just loved it, and I thought it was hilarious, and they were all amazing at it. And my friends and I decided that we were going to play our own campaign, and it's just been a roller coaster and so much fun.
What's your favorite race or class that you play?
I played a dwarf druid named Serena that was super fun because she just didn't care what anybody thought and just caused a lot of mayhem, so I enjoyed that a lot.
And for people that are listening that want to take a look at your artwork, where's the best place for them to find you?
Loquacious Literature at Tumblr would be the best, probably.
Okay, and now we have Angi, and Angi has some also amazing artwork, like I mentioned, especially with this picture from the Miyazaki-verse, or the Ghibli-verse. How did you get into art?
Well, I got into art since a kid after watching a lot of Disney films and stuff. And I was like just really in love with being able to create your own character and just seeing them come to life. So as a kid, I've always drawn, and you know, like any fandoms I've gotten into, like games and stuff, especially Disney stuff. I've been very happy to be able to like express my own take on it. So.
What are some of your favorite fandoms to draw?
Right now, I'm really, really in love with drawing League of Legends characters because I play a lot of League of Legends, and I really love the diversity of the champions that they have and their like lore and all that. So that's kind of like what I focused on a lot. I don't have everything up right now, so but I do a lot more of like Disney, Miyazaki stuff, and yeah, I've been trying to start streaming now on Twitch. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun just to like interact with my fans like that. So.
What's your favorite Miyazaki movie?
My favorite Miyazaki movie has to be Spirited Away, just because I feel like there's not a lot of like love in it. It's just a lot more deep, like valuing childhood and stuff. And now that I've grown up and stuff, I do like whenever I watch Spirited Away, I just think of all of the things that Hayao Miyazaki has been thinking about, of how he views childhood and like that innocence. So.
Okay, and what's the best place for people to find you at if they're listening?
Well, you can find me on Instagram as Angi.tsai, and yeah, you can also find me at ANGITSAI.net. That's my website, and it should be connected to all my social medias.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed my time at the Omni Fandom Expo 2017 based out of Orlando. It was really cool with how they had the setup with the artist alley in one part of the convention hall, and then you had your vendor room in another. It was really nice to actually have a lot of different art styles from the artist alley. You had people that did artwork, traditional artwork, chainmail, masks, clay potted characters. It was really cool, and the vendors didn't really overlap too much as far as what they were offering. I mean, there's people selling jewelry and necklaces, steampunk stuff, Japanese food and candy, all sorts of stuff. So it was really good to have such a variety, even in such a smaller convention. The only thing that I think would have been a little bit better, as far as personally, is how they had the cosplay guests set up. It was hard for them to get out from behind the table to take pictures, but I think that's only based on the size and location. As well with the video game and board game rooms, they were in a completely separate part of the convention center. You had to walk just a little bit, but it is out of the way from where all the main activity was. But it wasn't too hard to find, which was really good. Not to mention that this convention, since it's held in a convention center that's attached to a mall, you had a lot of dining choices, and you were not restricted to overpriced food or overpriced drinks, you could actually go into the mall, and they even had an arrangement with a Kaiten sushi place for a discount. So that was really wonderful, and I've really appreciated that. It's a very laid-back, easy convention, and I highly recommend, if you're able to go next year and you live in the Central Florida area or the Florida area in general, it's definitely a con that I think should be on your radar to check out. Again, I'd like to thank the Omni Fandom Expo for providing me a press pass to do this podcast and to meet so many awesome people, because if it hadn't have been for that, I'm not sure if I would have attended. So it's definitely going to be a con that I will be recording at years to come. So thank you all so much. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend, and look forward to Natasha Hazard's podcast on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.